When exhausted executive Cordelia Sinclair mistakes billionaire Thaddeus Whitmore for her hired driver, he makes a surprising choice. He says nothing. Night after night, he drives her home, observing how she treats someone she believes is powerless. Through coffee shops and rainstorms, homeless encounters and small acts of kindness, Cordelia begins to transform. But when his true identity is revealed at a glamorous gala, she must confront a painful truth. Who we are when nobody important is watching reveals everything about our character. Hey family, welcome to Real Life Heart Stories. Please subscribe and give this video a like. It truly means the world to us. Don't forget to share it with your friends and loved ones, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thank you so much for the support. Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's story. The city lights painted golden streaks across the wet pavement. It had rained earlier, and now everything looked clean and new. Thaddeus Whitmore stood beside his black sedan, looking like nobody special. His jacket was simple and dark. His shoes were clean but not expensive looking. His watch was hidden under his sleeve. No one walking past would guess he owned the tall building behind him. The glass doors of the building slid open with a soft whoosh. A woman rushed out, her high heels clicking fast and angry against the concrete. She looked tired. Her face was tight with stress. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She held her phone like a weapon, her knuckles white from gripping it too hard. She did not look left or right. She did not slow down. She walked straight toward Thaddeus with the confidence of someone who expected the world to move around her. Finally, she snapped without looking at his face. I have been waiting forever. I am already late for dinner. Drive me home. Now. Thaddeus did not speak immediately. He looked at her carefully, studying her face. She thought he was her driver. She had not asked his name. She had not said please or thank you. She just expected him to obey, like he was a machine, not a person. For 3 long seconds, Thaddeus considered telling her the truth. He could say, I am not your driver. I own this company. This is my car. That building behind you has my name on the top floor. But something stopped him. Something curious stirred in his mind. He wanted to see what would happen next. He opened the back door and stepped aside, saying nothing. The woman got in without thanking him. She did not even look at him. She kicked off her expensive shoes and leaned against the window, already typing furiously on her phone. Her fingers moved fast, angry. Thaddeus closed the door gently. He walked around the car slowly, thinking about his decision. Then he sat in the driver's seat. He adjusted the rearview mirror and could see her reflection clearly. Her eyes were closed now. Her jaw was tight. She looked like someone carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. Take the highway, she said without opening her eyes. I do not want to sit in traffic. I have had a terrible day. Yes, ma'am, Thaddeus replied quietly. She opened one eye and looked at him in the mirror. Really looked at him for the first time. You do not have to call me that. It makes me feel old. Just drive. Understood, he said simply. The car moved smoothly through the city. Buildings passed by like silent giants watching them. Other cars honked and rushed past, drivers angry and impatient. But Thaddeus stayed calm, his hands steady on the wheel. What is your name? The woman asked suddenly, breaking the silence. Thaddeus. That is unusual. Old-fashioned. She paused, then added, I am Cordelia. Nice to meet you, Miss Cordelia. Just Cordelia is fine. She sighed deeply, the sound full of exhaustion. Do you like this job, Thaddeus? Driving people around all day. He thought carefully before answering. It teaches me about people. She laughed, but it was not a happy sound. It was bitter, tired. What does it teach you? That everyone is carrying something heavy. Some people just hide it better than others. Cordelia went completely quiet. She looked out the window at the passing lights, the restaurants full of laughing people, the couples walking hand in hand. Everything she was too busy to notice or enjoy. That is surprisingly wise for a driver, she said softly, almost to herself. Thaddeus said nothing. He had made his decision in that moment. He would not tell her who he really was. Not yet. Not until he understood who she really was. He wanted to see the real Cordelia Sinclair. The one who appeared when she thought no one important was watching. "We will be there in 20 minutes, he said calmly. "Good," she replied, closing her eyes again. But Thaddeus knew this ride was just beginning. And by the time it ended, everything would change for both of them. 3 days passed like a strange rhythm. Each evening at exactly 6:45 p.m., Thaddeus arrived outside Cordelia's office building. Each evening, she walked out looking more exhausted than the day before. And each evening, she got into the back seat without really looking at him, treating him like part of the car itself. On the 4th evening, traffic was impossibly heavy. Cars barely moved, like a metal river that had forgotten how to flow. Brake lights glowed red as far as Thaddeus could see. Cordelia groaned loudly from the back seat. "This is absolutely ridiculous. We are going to be here for an hour. Is there another route? Any other way?" "Yes," Thaddeus said calmly. "But it goes through the older part of town. The streets are narrower. I do not care if we drive through a cornfield. Just get me home faster. I have a conference call in 40 minutes. Thaddeus turned onto a quieter street. The difference was immediate. Old buildings lined both sides, their paint fading and peeling. Small shops were closing for the night, owners pulling down metal gates. People walked slowly here, not rushing like in the business district. Life moved at a different pace. Then Thaddeus saw it. A car on the side of the road, hood open, smoke rising into the evening air. A young woman stood beside it, holding a baby wrapped in a thin blanket. She looked scared and helpless. Her phone was pressed to her ear, but she kept pulling it away and staring at it with frustration. Thaddeus slowed down. "What are you doing?" Cordelia asked sharply. "Do not stop. Keep driving." "That woman needs help," Thaddeus said calmly, his voice steady. "She can call someone. Roadside assistance. A tow truck. That is what they are for. Keep driving." "I told you. I am tired and I have a call." Thaddeus pulled over anyway. The car came to a complete stop. "I said do not stop." Cordelia's voice rose, anger clear now. "Are you not listening to me?" But Thaddeus was already unbuckling his seatbelt. He got out of the car and walked over to the stranded woman with the baby. "Excuse me, ma'am. Do you need help?" he asked gently. The woman's eyes were red from crying. Her voice shook when she spoke. "My car just died. It made a terrible noise and then stopped. My phone is almost dead. Cannot reach anyone. I do not know what to do. I need to get my baby home. She needs to eat." "Where do you live?" "Just 10 blocks that way." She pointed down the street with a shaking hand. Thaddeus looked back at his car. Through the window, he could see Cordelia watching, her face twisted with anger and impatience. He made a choice. "I can drive you home. It will only take a few minutes. Come with me." The woman's face transformed. Tears spilled down her cheeks, but this time from relief. "Thank you. Oh God. Thank you so much. You are an angel." Thaddeus opened the front passenger door. The woman got in carefully, adjusting the baby in her arms. The little one was sleeping now, peaceful and innocent. Then he returned to the driver's seat. Cordelia's face was pure ice. Her eyes burned with fury. "Excuse me? What exactly do you think you are doing?" "This will only take 10 minutes, Thaddeus said calmly. "Then I will take you home. I promise." "This is absolutely unbelievable. I hired you to drive me, not run a charity service for strangers." "No one hired me," Thaddeus said quietly, meeting her eyes in the mirror. "You assumed I was your driver. I chose to help you. Now I am choosing to help her." Cordelia's mouth opened, but no words came out. She looked shocked, as if no one had ever spoken to her that way. The young woman in front turned around, her face guilty. "I am so sorry. I did not mean to cause trouble between you." "You did not cause any trouble," Thaddeus said firmly. "Some things are more important than being on time. A mother and baby needing help is one of those things." He drove the woman to a small apartment building. She thanked him 5 times before getting out. Her baby was still sleeping peacefully, safe and warm. When they were alone again, the silence felt heavy. Finally, Cordelia spoke. Her voice was different now. Smaller, quieter, almost ashamed. "You were right to stop," she said, not looking at him. I was wrong. Completely wrong." Thaddeus looked at her in the mirror. Their eyes met. "Thank you for saying that. Takes courage to admit being wrong." The rest of the drive was silent. But something important had shifted between them. Something had cracked in Cordelia's armor. And Thaddeus knew the real test had only just begun. 2 days later, Cordelia came out of her building looking different. Not angry, not rushing, just tired in a deeper way, like she carried invisible weights on her shoulders. "Can we stop somewhere before home?" she asked, her voice softer than usual. "I really need coffee before I face my empty apartment." "Of course," Thaddeus said. "Any preference?" "Somewhere quiet. Not the usual corporate places. Somewhere real." Thaddeus drove to a small cafe near the river. It was not fancy. The chairs did not match each other. Some were wooden, some were metal, some were old leather. The walls were covered with local art. The music playing was soft jazz, barely there. It felt honest and comfortable. Cordelia ordered a large coffee, black. Then she surprised herself and turned to Thaddeus. "Do you want something? Please, order whatever you like." "I am fine, really," he said. "Come on. You have been driving me around all week, dealing with my moods. Let me buy you coffee." "I insist." "All right. Thank you. I will have the same." They sat at a small table by the window. Outside, the river moved slowly, reflecting the city lights. For the first time, they were not separated by the car. They were not driver and passenger. They were just 2 people sharing a moment. "You never talk about yourself," Cordelia said, holding her cup with both hands as if warming herself. "Not even a little bit." "There is not much to tell," Thaddeus replied simply. "I do not believe that. Not for 1 second. You are too aware, too thoughtful, too different from anyone else I have met. People like that always have interesting stories." Thaddeus smiled slightly. "And you talk constantly. Usually, that means someone is avoiding something they do not want to face." Cordelia froze. Her coffee cup stopped halfway to her mouth. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed. It was a real laugh, not polite or practiced. "That is incredibly rude and completely, absolutely accurate." "How did you know?" "Experience. Observation. People tell you who they are if you pay attention." She set down her cup and looked directly at him. "What are you avoiding, Thaddeus?" He paused, considering whether to answer honestly. "I am avoiding the moment when being honest changes everything." She frowned, confused. "That is cryptic." "Yes, it is." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Cordelia spoke again, her voice quieter now. "Do you want to know what I am avoiding?" "Only if you want to tell me." She looked out the window. A boat moved slowly down the river, its lights twinkling. "The truth, I guess. The truth that I am not as good as I pretend to be. Not as kind. Not as important. Not as valuable as my job title suggests." "What makes you think that?" "Because—" She paused, her eyes becoming wet with unshed tears. "Because when I told you not to stop for that woman with the baby, I absolutely meant it. I was genuinely annoyed. I only cared about getting home on time, about my conference call, about my convenience. And that scares me, Thaddeus. What kind of person does that make me?" Thaddeus nodded slowly, his expression gentle. "Do you want to know what I think? Honestly?" "Yes, please. I need someone to be honest with me. I think you are tired. I think you have been working so hard for so long to succeed, to climb higher, to be important, that you forgot why any of that matters. You forgot that success without humanity is just an empty achievement. But I also think you are capable of change, because you just admitted the truth. And that is where all change begins, with honest self-examination." Cordelia's eyes filled with tears. One spilled over and ran down her cheek. She quickly wiped it away. How do you do that? Do what? Make me feel completely seen. Make me feel like I matter, even when you are pointing out my flaws. Drivers are not supposed to do that. People are not supposed to do that. Maybe, Thaddeus said carefully, we are all just people. Some of us have different jobs, different bank accounts, different addresses. But underneath all that, we are all just people trying to figure out how to be good, how to matter, how to live with ourselves. They drank their coffee in comfortable silence. The jazz music played softly. Other people came and went, lost in their own worlds. Outside the window, a homeless man walked past slowly. His clothes were dirty and torn. He moved like every step hurt. He looked cold and hungry and forgotten. Cordelia watched him. Her face changed. She stood up suddenly. "Wait here," she said. "I will be right back." Thaddeus watched as she went outside. She walked directly to the homeless man and gave him money from her wallet. They talked for a moment. The man's face lit up with surprise and gratitude. He smiled. Cordelia smiled back, a genuine smile that transformed her face. When she returned to the table, she did not say anything about it. She just sat down and picked up her coffee like nothing had happened. "Ready to go?" Thaddeus asked gently. "Yes." As they walked back to the car, Thaddeus felt something important happening inside his chest. Cordelia was changing. Slowly, like ice melting in spring. But it was real. It was not performance. It was genuine transformation. "Thank you," she said as they drove away into the night. "For what?" "For not judging me. For being patient with me. For showing me. For being kind when I did not deserve it." "You are welcome, Cordelia." But inside, Thaddeus wondered how much longer he could keep his secret. And what would happen to this fragile new growth when she finally learned the truth about who was really sitting in the driver's seat. The rain came suddenly, turning the evening sky dark and heavy. Thaddeus pulled up to Cordelia's office building, windshield wipers working hard against the storm. Cordelia ran out, trying to cover her head with her bag. She jumped into the car, breathing hard. "This weather is terrible," she said, wiping her face. "It will pass," Thaddeus said calmly. They drove slowly. Rain made everything harder to see. Other drivers were angry, honking, cutting each other off. A car suddenly swerved in front of them. Thaddeus braked smoothly. The other driver leaned out his window. "Watch where you are going, idiot!" the man screamed. Cordelia tensed. What a jerk. Say something back. But Thaddeus just waited. The car drove away. "Why did you not defend yourself?" Cordelia asked. "Because angry words only create more anger. Sometimes silence is stronger." She looked at him with new respect. "My father used to say that, before he died. He sounds wise. He was. I miss him every day." Her voice became soft. "He would not recognize me now. I became exactly what he warned me not to be." What was that? Someone who measures success by what they have instead of who they are. Before Thaddeus could respond, Cordelia gasped. "Stop! Stop the car!" He pulled over. Through the rain, they could see a bus stop. A woman stood there with a little girl. Both were soaking wet. The shelter was already full of people. "Do you have an umbrella?" Cordelia asked quickly. Thaddeus reached into the back and handed her one. Without another word, Cordelia jumped out of the car. She ran through the rain to the bus stop. Thaddeus watched as she gave the umbrella to the woman. Then Cordelia took off her own coat and wrapped it around the shivering little girl. The woman said something. Cordelia shook her head and smiled. She pointed at the car, said something else, then ran back. She got in, completely soaked, shivering. "You did not have to do that," Thaddeus said, turning up the heat. "Yes, I did," Cordelia said firmly. "That little girl was freezing. What kind of person would I be if I just drove past? Many people would have. I know. I would have too a week ago." She looked at him. "You changed something in me, Thaddeus. I do not know how, but I see things differently now." Thaddeus felt his chest tighten. She was becoming the person she was meant to be. And soon, he would have to tell her everything. "We should get you home before you catch a cold," he said. As they drove, the rain began to slow, and Thaddeus realized that the real storm was still coming. Because tomorrow night, at the charity gala, Cordelia would learn the truth about who was really sitting in the driver's seat. The gala was beautiful. Lights sparkled like stars inside the grand hotel ballroom. Men wore expensive suits. Women wore dresses that cost more than most people earned in a month. Cordelia stepped out of the car wearing a dark blue dress. She looked nervous. "Big night?" Thaddeus asked. "The biggest. Important people are here. People who decide things with money and power." She took a deep breath. "I hate these events." "Why go?" "Because this is how the game works." She paused. "Will you wait for me?" "Of course." She smiled at him. A real smile. "You know, Thaddeus, you are the most genuine person I have met in years. Thank you for being you." "You are welcome, Cordelia." She walked into the building. Thaddeus waited exactly 5 minutes. Then he got out of the car, straightened his jacket, and walked to a different entrance, the one reserved for special guests. Inside the party, Cordelia moved through the crowd. Everyone wanted to talk to her. Everyone had something to sell or ask. She felt exhausted already. Then the lights dimmed. A man walked onto the small stage holding a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice filling the room. "Before we continue, I want to recognize someone very special. A man whose vision made this entire project possible. A man whose generosity has changed countless lives." Cordelia barely listened. She was thinking about Thaddeus waiting outside in the car. "Please join me in welcoming our guest of honor, Mr. Thaddeus Whitmore." Applause filled the room. Cordelia clapped politely without thinking. Then she saw him. Thaddeus walked onto the stage. Not the Thaddeus from the car, but the same man. Same face, same calm eyes, same gentle presence. But this Thaddeus wore a perfect suit. This Thaddeus owned the room. This Thaddeus was clearly someone powerful. Cordelia's hands stopped moving. Her mouth opened. No, this cannot be real." Thaddeus spoke briefly. Something about responsibility and community. But Cordelia could not hear the words. Her mind was replaying every moment, every command she had given, every time she had treated him like a servant. "Oh God, what have I done?" When the speech ended, Cordelia pushed through the crowd. She had to get out, had to breathe, had to think. She found a quiet hallway and leaned against the wall, her heart pounding. Footsteps approached. She knew who it was before she looked up. Thaddeus stood there. His expression was kind but serious. "Cordelia," he said softly. "Do not." Her voice shook. "Do not say my name like we are friends. Like you did not just make a fool of me. I never meant to hurt you." "Then why?" Her voice broke. "Why did you lie to me?" "I did not lie," Thaddeus said. "You made an assumption. I just did not correct it." "That is the same thing, is it?" They stood in the empty hallway. Music and laughter drifted from the ballroom. But here, everything was silent and tense. "You humiliated me," Cordelia said, her voice shaking with anger and hurt. "I tested you," Thaddeus replied calmly. "Tested me? Who gives you the right?" "You did. The moment you assumed I existed to serve you without even asking my name." Cordelia felt like she had been slapped. "That is not fair." "No," Thaddeus agreed, "but it is honest." She turned away from him, pressing her hands against her face. "I do not understand. Why would someone like you pretend to be a driver?" "Because people reveal their true selves when they think the other person does not matter. When there is nothing to gain from kindness, we see who someone really is." "And what did you see?" Her voice was barely a whisper. Thaddeus stepped closer, but not too close. "At first, I saw someone who was sharp, demanding, lost in her own world. Someone who had forgotten that drivers, waiters, janitors, they are all human beings deserving of respect." Tears ran down Cordelia's face. "I was that person. I am that person." "No," Thaddeus said firmly. "You were, but you changed." She looked up at him, confused. When I stopped to help that woman with the baby, you could have insisted we leave. But you admitted you were wrong. When you saw the homeless man, you went outside and helped him without me asking. When you saw that mother and child in the rain, you gave them your coat. But I only did those things because you were watching. Were you? Because I do not think I am that powerful. I think you did those things because something inside you was waking up. Something good that had been sleeping too long. Cordelia wiped her eyes. Why not just tell me who you were from the beginning? Would you have changed? Or would you have just been polite because I was important? The question hung in the air. Cordelia knew the answer. She would have been fake kind. The kind of kindness that disappears when the cameras turn off. What happens now? She asked quietly. That depends on you. What do you mean? I mean, you have a choice. You can hate me for showing you who you were becoming. You can go back to your old life and forget these past weeks. Or what? Or you can accept that growth is painful. That change is uncomfortable. That becoming a better person means facing the parts of ourselves we do not like. Cordelia stood very still. And if I choose to change, what then? Then we start being honest. No more games. No more tests. Just two people trying to make the world a little better. She took a deep breath. I need time to think. Take all the time you need, Thaddeus said. I will be here when you are ready. He walked away, leaving her alone with the hardest decision of her life. 3 days passed. Cordelia did not call, did not send a message. She stayed in her apartment, thinking about everything that had happened. On the 4th morning, someone knocked on her door. She opened it to find Thaddeus standing there. No car, no suit, just jeans and a simple shirt. He looked like a regular person. Can I come in? He asked. Cordelia stepped aside. They sat in her living room. Morning light came through the windows, making everything feel too bright, too real. I am not here to pressure you, Thaddeus said. I came to apologize. For what? For not considering how my actions would make you feel. I thought I was teaching you something, but I was also being arrogant, thinking I had the right to judge you. Cordelia was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I was angry. I am still a little angry, but I was also wrong. You do not have to. Let me finish. She took a breath. I spent 3 days thinking about who I have become, and I did not like what I saw. I have been cruel without meaning to be. I have been blind to people right in front of me. I built my whole life around being important, being respected. But I never asked if I deserved that respect. Cordelia. I called my assistant, the one who quit. I apologized. Really apologized. Her voice cracked. She cried. She said she thought I did not even remember her name. But I did. I remembered. I just never showed her that she mattered. Thaddeus listened without interrupting. Yesterday, I went to that community center you mentioned once. The one where you volunteer. I did not tell anyone who I was. I just showed up and asked if they needed help. She smiled through tears. They put me on food distribution. Do you know what happened? What? Nothing special. I just helped people. And it felt better than any business deal I have ever made. It felt real. That is good, Cordelia. Really good. I am not doing this to impress you, she said firmly. I am doing this because you showed me something true about myself. And even though it hurt, it was necessary. Thaddeus nodded. So what now? Cordelia stood and walked to the window. Now I make a choice. I can go back to the life I built knowing what I know. Or I can build something new. Something that matters. Both are valid choices. She turned to face him. Which would you choose? It does not matter what I would choose. This is your life. But your opinion matters to me. Thaddeus stood and walked over to her. Then my opinion is this. The Cordelia I met 3 weeks ago would have chosen power. But the Cordelia standing in front of me now? She already knows what she wants. She just needs permission to choose it. Cordelia smiled. Then I choose to be better. Will you help me? Yes, Thaddeus said. As your partner, not your teacher. Equal ground. Equal ground, she agreed. 6 months later, Cordelia stood in front of a small crowd at the community center. No fancy dress, no makeup, just her, speaking from the heart. 6 months ago, I thought success meant having power over people. Today, I know success means serving people. Thank you for letting me be part of this family. People clapped. Real warm applause. Thaddeus watched from the back of the room, proud. After the event, they walked together through the neighborhood. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. I got offered a promotion last week, Cordelia said. That is great. I turned it down. Thaddeus stopped walking. Why? Because it would have meant less time here. Less time doing work that actually matters. And I realized something. I spent years climbing a ladder that was leaning against the wrong wall. Do you regret your choice? Not for a second. She smiled. I have never been happier. Poorer, yes, but happier. They sat on a bench near the river. The city lights were starting to come on one by one. Can I ask you something? Cordelia said. Of course. Why did you really do it? The whole driver thing. The test. What were you looking for? Thaddeus was quiet for a moment. I was looking for someone who could change. Someone who had the courage to look at themselves honestly and choose to be better. That is rare. Why was it important to you? Because I needed a partner. Someone to help run the foundation. Someone who understood both worlds, wealth and poverty, power and service. Someone who could bridge that gap. And you thought I could be that person? I hoped you could be. And I was right. Cordelia leaned her head on his shoulder. You know what the funny part is? I thought you were nobody. Just a driver. Someone insignificant. And you turned out to be the most significant person I have ever met. We are all significant, Cordelia. Every person you pass on the street has a whole universe inside them. That is what I wanted you to see. I see it now. Finally. They sat in comfortable silence as the city grew darker and the stars began to appear. Remember that first night? Cordelia asked. When I ordered you to drive me home? I remember. If you could go back, would you do it again? Thaddeus thought about it. Yes, because that moment changed both of us. How did it change you? It reminded me that people are capable of beautiful transformations. When they are ready. When they are challenged with love instead of judgment. Cordelia sat up and looked at him. Thank you, Thaddeus, for not giving up on me. Thank you for not giving up on yourself. As they walked back toward the community center, where Thaddeus's car was now parked, not as a tool of deception, but as a simple vehicle, they walked side by side. Equal. Partners. Friends. The lesson was complete. The journey had just begun. We've come to the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories.